Sarah Mitchell stood at the checkout counter, her hand trembling slightly as she counted the crumpled bills one more time. $32. That was all that remained until Friday's paycheck, and it was only Tuesday morning. Her daughter Emma, just 7 years old with her hair tied back in neat pigtails, looked up at her with those trusting brown eyes. The child clutched a small orange juice box, her favorite treat that Sarah had promised her after the dentist appointment. The groceries on the belt were modest: bread, eggs, milk, pasta, a small jar of sauce, the basics to get them through the week. Sarah had calculated everything down to the last dollar in the parking lot before coming inside, but she had forgotten about the juice box. The cashier, a young woman with kind eyes, began scanning items. Sarah watched the digital numbers climb on the register display. $28.43. She still had the juice box to go. Beep. $31.18. Sarah felt heat rising to her cheeks. Behind her, she sensed other customers waiting in line. The familiar weight of shame pressed down on her shoulders, the same feeling she had carried for the past year, since the accident that had taken her husband, Michael. Emma tugged at her sleeve. "Mama, are we getting the juice?" Sarah knelt down, bringing herself eye level with her daughter. She brushed a strand of hair from Emma's face, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sweetheart, we have no money for extras today. I'm so sorry." The words caught in her throat. How many times had she said similar things over the past months? How many small disappointments had this brave little girl endured without complaint? Emma's face fell, but she nodded with that heartbreaking maturity that children develop too quickly when life gets hard. "It's okay, Mama. I'm not that thirsty anyway." Sarah stood up, blinking back tears. She reached for the juice box to hand it back to the cashier, when a deep voice spoke from behind her. "Please, let me take care of this." Sarah turned to see a man in an expensive gray suit standing in line behind them. He was perhaps in his early 40s, with dark hair and a face that somehow seemed both professional and gentle. There was something in his eyes, a depth of understanding that made Sarah pause. "No, thank you," Sarah said quickly, her pride flaring up. "We're fine. Really." The man, whose name was David Chun, studied her for a moment. He saw so much in that brief glance. The worn but clean clothes, the careful way she had selected only necessities, the love in how she had knelt to speak to her daughter, the resignation in her shoulders that came from carrying too much for too long. David had been that child once, standing in a grocery store while his own mother counted pennies. He remembered the feeling of being small and helpless, watching his immigrant parents work 3 jobs between them just to keep food on the table. He remembered the kindness of strangers that had changed everything for his family. Now he stood here, the CEO of a successful tech company, wearing a suit that cost more than some people's monthly rent. But he had never forgotten where he came from. He had never forgotten the dignity his parents maintained even in their hardest moments. He saw that same dignity in this woman's eyes. "I understand," David said gently, "but would you allow me to explain something? When I was about your daughter's age, my family struggled too. A stranger helped us once in a store just like this. My mother told me that day that kindness is meant to travel forward, not backward. She said that when I grew up, I should pass it on to someone else who needed it." Sarah's eyes glistened. She wanted to refuse. Every fiber of her independent spirit wanted to politely decline and walk away. But Emma's small hand was still in hers, and she thought about the nearly empty refrigerator at home. She thought about the electricity bill that was overdue. She thought about how tired she was from working double shifts at the diner while trying to be everything Emma needed. "I don't know what to say," Sarah whispered. David reached into his jacket pocket. "You don't have to say anything. Just promise me that someday, when you're able, you'll help someone else who's having a hard day." He pulled out his wallet, but instead of a credit card, he withdrew a thick stack of crisp bills. Sarah watched, confused, as he began counting them onto the counter. 100, 200, 500. He kept going. "Sir," Sarah gasped, "that's too much. Please, I couldn't possibly." David held up his hand gently. "My mother passed away 6 months ago. She always told me to look for opportunities to honor her memory by helping others. Please let me do this. For her. For my own mother who stood where you're standing now." The stack of bills grew. The cashier stood motionless, her eyes wide. Emma watched with the innocent wonder of a child witnessing something extraordinary. Other customers in line had gone quiet, watching this moment unfold. When David finished counting, $10,000 sat on the counter. Sarah couldn't breathe. Her knees felt weak. $10,000. It was more than she made in 4 months at the diner. It was a past due rent. It was Emma's school supplies and winter coat she desperately needed. It was the car repair that would let Sarah take a better job across town. It was breathing room. It was hope. "Why?" she managed to ask, tears now streaming freely down her face. "Why would you do this for strangers?" David smiled, and in that smile was a lifetime of remembering his own struggles and blessings. Because we're not really strangers. We're all just people trying to make our way through this life. And because someone did it for my family once, and it changed everything for us. My mother was able to get her catering business started with unexpected help from a kind person. That business put me through college. Now I get to pass it forward. He knelt down to Emma's level, just as Sarah had done minutes before. "Young lady, I want you to remember something. When things get hard in life, and they will sometimes, there's always kindness waiting somewhere. And someday, when you're all grown up, you pass it on too, okay?" Emma nodded solemnly, then surprised everyone by wrapping her small arms around David's neck. "Thank you for helping my mama. She works really hard and she's really tired." David's eyes grew moist. He hugged the child back, remembering his own mother's tired eyes after long days of work. He stood up and turned to Sarah. "Take care of yourself and that beautiful daughter. The world needs more people who teach their children grace and gratitude like you're doing." Sarah couldn't find words. She pulled David into an embrace, the stranger who had just changed her life, and whispered, "I'll pay it forward. I promise. Thank you doesn't seem like enough, but thank you. God bless you." David nodded, paid for his own few items, and walked toward the exit. He paused at the door and looked back one more time. Sarah was kneeling beside Emma again, holding her daughter close, both of them crying happy tears, while the patient cashier smiled and wiped at her own eyes. As David walked to his car, he pulled out his phone and looked at his mother's picture on his screen. "I hope I made you proud today, Mom," he whispered. Inside the store, Sarah carefully folded the money, her hands still shaking.